the International Space Station. He and his crewmates launched on April 4th, 2011, in a Soyuz spacecraft dubbed Gagarin. The launch was from the same place that Yuri Gagarin had launched nearly 50 years previously. Aboard the station, the crew worked on a variety of microgravity experiments and hosted the STS-134 and STS-135 space shuttle missions. Colonel Gagarin also participated in a spacewalk from the space station during the STS-135 mission. He and Expedition 28 landed in Kazakhstan on September 15, 2011, after traveling more than 65 million miles in 2,624 orbits during 164 days in space.
We recently saw a thing about a documentary about the building of the space station. And I guess what I wanted to know is, did it feel like living in a modular home, or did it feel like living in a bomb shelter, small round type place?
Yeah, it felt like living in your home. I mean, it really did. It rapidly became home. It became our own little world, separated from the world that we're on right now. And it is a huge place. So, I mean, there is no, I mean, even if you're claustrophobic, I don't think you'd be claustrophobic on the space station. It's just, it's big. And, you know, you can go and be off by yourself if you need some quiet time, or it's, I mean, you could actually get lost. if you, I mean, not really, but I mean, pretty close. It's almost that big. So it's a very comfortable place to live. We got great scenery, great views. You know, we control the temperature to whatever temperature we want. We got plenty of food, plenty of light. You know, everything that we need, we have. And so it's a very comfortable existence. We've done an unbelievable job building it. The design, the engineering, the construction of it is just tremendous, and it really is. I mean, it is awe-inspiring to see that from, you know, to approach the space station, whether you're on a space shuttle or on a Soyuz or on a spacewalk, and to be out there and looking back at the space station is just, it is an amazing accomplishment of humanity. It really is. And so it's a wonderful experience to live and work. So I hope that answered your question. I guess in a nutshell, the answer to your question is it felt like home. I mean, it didn't feel cramped like you know, a small home. It just felt like a nice, comfortable place to live.
Yes, depending on how you like to say it. I think NASA sort of underutilizes them, so I guess this first part is just a question or a request to say I think that on the internet that they photos of the universe come across clearer and more like 3D when they're in the GIF format. So that's just a small request. And then my question actually comes from one of my Twitter followers in response to my tweet about how the moon could actually provide enough energy for the Earth for centuries. And so he asks, is it likely more viable than the solar energy that already falls on the Earth, and how does moon to Earth energy transfer work?
Well, that is a very complicated question to answer, but I'll try and do it on a high level. There's a number of different energy sources on the moon. There's potential fuel for fusion reactors that don't exist right now, but hopefully will exist. There's solar energy that falls on the Earth that could be sent back either through geosynchronous satellites, through microwave or laser, that can then be transported down to the ground the same way. These would not be hampered by weather. They would not be hampered by volcanic ash. If we had a volcanic eruption that interfered with solar transfer, in the Earth's atmosphere, there's platinum on the moon that is used as a catalyst for fuel cells, and so the list goes on. These are difficult engineering. In the case of fusion reactors, we don't even have them yet. So this is down the road, but there is, it's not too hard to imagine that we'll have that technology soon, and we have a potential fuel source for that on the moon. And then the big thing with the solar energy is that it would be greater, first of all, because it doesn't have to go through the atmosphere, but also it would be how the internet was on board, I was really disappointed because it wasn't going to really work. It was too slow. But I guess from the time he flew to the time I flew, there was some modifications made, and I was really pleasantly surprised when I got there. And I mean, it wasn't fast, but it was usable, and that was a big surprise to me. And that's why I immediately started trying to use it. And I'm the type of person that if I'm doing something really spectacular and really cool, it's so much more so if I could share it. It almost seems like you're wasting it. Like if you're in the cupola and you see this amazing view, I almost felt bad if I couldn't somehow capture that and share it. And so through having the internet on board, I was able to do that real time. So there's a difference between taking a picture and sending it down, and then weeks later, eventually it gets to be public, versus flying over Tripoli on the day that Tripoli fell and taking a picture of it and sending it down to immediately, within hours, sending it down to the earth, or flying over a hurricane and looking right down into the eye and taking a picture and sending it to the earth. I mean, there's a big difference from, I'm sure there is on your end. It's more interesting, but from our end too, it's more interesting to do that. It requires more work, but we have the capability, the technology on board now to do that, and it's getting better every day. So hopefully we'll be able to continue that, because I think it's a really important aspect of our outreach.
How's your Russian?
Nikla.
Can you say Happy Valentine's Day in Russian?
I know, I don't. Sorry. It's okay. I mean, it's not great. It's not as good as it should be. It's a very difficult language to learn, and I'm beyond the age where learning language is easy. Way beyond the age. And so, but it's I was in a Russian spacecraft, a crew member on a Russian spacecraft, and you need to have some capability in the language. And I think between my crewmates and I, we were able to communicate, because what I didn't know in Russian, they knew in English, and vice versa. And so we were able to communicate. So.
John at Soltosty. With the recent budget cuts with NASA, the end of the shuttle program, and the James Webb Telescope being in danger of losing its funding altogether, where do you see NASA headed, and where would you like to see NASA headed?
Well, we're in a big transition right now, and some of that is really good. We need, as an agency, actually the big government agencies, what we do best is push the envelope and to go past the next hill and to do exploration. And so in order to do that, we need to turn over some, I don't want to call them routine because they're not routine, but the more of the business that we really know how to do very well at this point over to commercial activities, and that is low Earth orbit. So we pretty much, we have a lot to learn still, but we have our experience base and our knowledge level is at the point, just like it was in the airline industry, way back in the 100 years ago or so, that we can start to turn those operations over to commercial activities, and we need to do that because we need to free up our focus, and we need to free up our resources towards pushing that envelope as far as we can. The end of the space shuttle program is in the same vein here. We built the space shuttle primarily to build a space station. We built a space station. There's two sides of this coin. When we closed that hatch on Atlantis and they undocked, and we realized this is it. This is the end of the space station program. I rang the space station's bell to signal not only Atlantis' departure, but the closing of that chapter in our space program. But I truly believed, as I was ringing that bell, that we're opening up the next chapter, which will see humans go beyond low Earth orbit, maybe to the moon, to asteroids, eventually to Mars, and to really put our reach further out into the solar system, and that was a necessary step for that. But the other side of that coin is it will be a long time before we have the capabilities that the space shuttle provided us. It was an amazing vehicle, very versatile, very capable. It was, we would not have the space station right now if it wasn't for the space shuttle, and that was the bittersweet part of it. Is we realized that it was freeing up resources to do the next big thing, but it was pretty cool while it lasted too. So it was definitely bittersweet. So I hope that answers your